Welcome back to MSI 2018. I am joined by GBM, the victorious mid laner. Congratulations on your win. I want to start off with a question about your history. You've competed in the European LCS, the NALCS, in LCK, and now in Turkey. How do you feel Turkey matches up against some of those other regions?
Actually, every region is pretty strong, but actually Europe and LCK is most strong. Maybe China too. But I think we are not enough for them at this moment, but actually Turkey League getting better and better. I think this season is so much stronger than other season because I'm here.
It makes a lot of sense. Supermassive have been at every MSI as well, and now that you've joined them, do you think you can make that step from only being in play-ins to actually making it to groups?
Yeah, of course we will make it. It will be hard versus Fresh Wolves, but I don't think we lose against Evos.
Okay, so you think you can beat EVOS if you play them?
Yeah, we want to fight with Evos.
Okay, we'll have to see if that does end up happening. I want to ask you a personal question as well. This is the first time you've come to an international tournament. Do you feel that you have a lot to prove to the international community?
Actually, this is my first international, so I'm excited and I'm enjoying about it. So I just want to keep my playing. Like I just want to show you my play style.
Well, it's working out well for you thus far. Congratulations again on the win. Good luck in your final game for the day.
Yeah, thank you
very much, guys. See you after this.
After what? Thank you very much, Medic. Terrific interview there with GBM. Welcome back, everybody, to the State Farm Analyst Desk. I love that interview out of GBM. Medic also saying this is his first international appearance, and it is hard to believe when it is a guy that's been around for so incredibly long. And I love that he said, well, I came to the international stage and I wanted to show people something. And Vedius, you were giving him praise for his first game, GBM, on that Vladimir. A different style from what we've seen from him in a TCL. He came to play.
Yes, I feel like game 2, we saw a little bit more of the GBM that I was expecting. A little bit more reserved, a little bit more patient, a little bit more calculated. But game 1, you had to get it out of the system. You know, he had to prove his superiority. And so far, I think he's done just that.
Yeah, he's just a showman. That's what I love to see about him. I remember when he first came on the scene with his bow tie, and now he just gets to showcase his play on the stage. So
just like you, a showman.
Oh, there we go. I appreciate that. And I appreciate, I think the thing that I love about him the most is even though there are points, especially in game 1, where they do make mistakes, they're actively moving on the map constantly. So there's not that feeling that we see from some of these teams where it's slow play or maybe it's active, but there's no thought process behind it. It's a good middle ground here for the team.
And for Supermassive, they've thrown down the gauntlet maybe to KaBuM, saying, hello, this game was very, very convincing for us. We'll see you in the last game of the day, because KaBuM now has to win as well. They're up versus the Direwolves, and this is a very contested game versus both of these teams. Direwolves fell in the very first game of the day. So I have a bit of a dilemma, because I didn't think that Chippys' Camille was that bad. But because they were able to play to the top side, they were able to do a thing here or there, and maybe pull off rather some skirmishes that gave them some pressure on the map. But it seems that it wasn't the strongest pick for him in the end.
Yeah, just because a lot of it, even though they wanted to make sure that their top side of the map was proper, there was some mis-execution. I think it is just stage nerves coming in from Chippys, because constant times that they were trying to look for kills, and the bot side, it just didn't work out.
And I feel like that the thing about Direwolves is we saw a couple of early ganks towards bot, but we definitely saw much more of a prioritization for Shernfire to basically gank for Chippys. And what I'd love to see is, number 1, as you identified, Chippys to be a little bit more confident in his play, because there were a couple of fail flashes here and there were a couple of misplays, but if they can get him this early lead, if they can get him ahead of his counterpart, I feel like he would be better set up for success.
Well, that's what I was trying to lead into in this matchup versus Zantins, who has picked a lot of carries in the CBLOL. Would you like to see Chippys just trying it again, and would you like to see the Direwolves playing towards top again? Was it really possibly just nerves in that game 1?
I feel like that we don't have a choice. Whether we want to or not, Chippys will play a carry. That's what he's going to do. And I don't know how well he's going to stack up against Zantins, because we've only seen him play a tank in this tournament, and that's outside of his comfort zone. And given his performance so far in this tournament, when you have a carry v carry matchup, I just feel like Zantins is the one that's going to be favored.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when it comes to, especially KaBuM as a team, but Zantins especially, is confidence. He has that confidence that he can go towards tanks, go towards carries. I want to see that confidence out of Chippys. And it's not, I don't want them to take a step back just based off of that one game. Remember, that's just a warm-up game. I'll, throw it away, throw it in the garbage. We didn't expect much from that one anyways. I expect going up against KaBuM, that they pick up the Camille once again, it's strong priority, and he's going to perform just as well.
We'll see if that goes down in the top lane. In the bottom lane, Chitan was someone we were looking at very heavily for KaBuM. I wouldn't say he carried KaBuM in those first appearances, but he is someone that we're looking out for, and I really want to see him play forward, and I really want to see him step up and carry the game.
Well, for me, I feel like he did his job. You know, like in lane, yes, they struggled a little bit. That could have been nerves. You got to remember, this guy's only 17 years old. This is his first international event. But in the late game, his positioning was spectacular. He was always in the right place at the right time. You saw 40% of his team's damage in that game alone on the Caitlyn, and I feel like he contributed a lot to the success of KaBuM.
Yeah, so laning phase, I'm not too concerned about that. What I am concerned going up against King, this is what's interesting me the most, is because when we got to see the priority and champions that he would go towards between the Varus and the Ezreal, he chose the Ezreal. And they had a real problem in terms of damage going on later in the game, especially when they fall behind. I don't want to see the Ezreal pick. I know that's a pick that he's gone towards in the regular season time and time again. I want to see the Varus pick so you can challenge him in lane. So the Caitlyn pick, if that comes through once again, I want to see the Varus pick, and I want to see priority going bot side.
We're focusing on the top lane and the bottom lane in this matchup, and as we jump into the game, Chitan shares how his entire professional journey this split so far is still a bit of a blur.
Eu sempre tive isso em minha mente, que tudo que eu quero eu consigo, então foi o que eu batalhei para conseguir meu sonho, e não, eu não imaginaria estando aqui, ainda não é uma realidade para mim. Aconteceu tudo em um ano, Challenge Series, CBLOL, depois Alemanha, e isso é incrível. Eu não acredito que eu estou em Alemanha, não acredito que eu estou em São Paulo ainda. A minha realidade é estando numa cadeira de plástico, onde era muito calor, onde eu tinha um PC para mim, onde tinha muita gente falando. Então, é muito estranho isso tudo para mim, aceitar essa realidade de uma hora para outra, onde foi tudo muito rápido. Então, não acredito ainda.
Thank you, Shox. I'm Julian Page2Timecard, joined by the man from the bin. It is Jake Spawn Tyveri.
Yeah, the man from the bin. I hope you mean Melbourne, but it's good to be here, Pastry. This tournament so far has been absolutely insane, and I'm so hyped to get into this next game because KaBuM versus the Direwolves is going to be a big one.
I think coming in, I had KaBuM as actually pegged as a pretty strong team. This group obviously pretty tough with Supermassive looking so good, but they've shown a lot. Their finals was close, but they did show kind of a vast array of strategies and a lot of strength across the Rift.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you have a look at KaBuM, they're one of the few teams that will be able to play through the top lane. They have a very heavy split push threat from Zantins up there, but also the fact that, you know, they've got some young superstars. And this is a team that has been able to grow very rapidly, and I expect international tournaments only going to accelerate that growth.
On the Dial side, of course, we've kind of seen them struggle here and there, trying to kind of re-up and improve on their performances from previous tournaments, but we'll see what the draft has in store. Gangplank banned on KaBuM's side, and Kai'Sa, as kind of expected, banned. On the red side, there's Camille away from Chippys.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this is two bans that we'll see a lot. Chippys obviously didn't have the best game one, kind of agree with the desk there that he had some nerves, but this is a player that won the MVP of the OPL, was by out and out the best top laner within the region, and I think that those two bans are pretty stock standard because nothing else on the Direwolves lineup strikes me as something that you have to hit. Maybe you take away Alistar if you don't want to deal with it from Cupcake, but the rest of the team plays very generic champion picks.
There's Ezreal actually banned by Direwolves away from Chitan, who's been incredible on that pick in his finals. There's KaMuM banned away. Again, a pick that maybe hasn't seen much success yet, but presence has been very high, and it's kind of something that everyone knows is very good.
Yeah, and that's what we have to do. We can't go with the champions that are only getting the wins, because KaMuM's being seen, you know, nearly 100% presence right now. Kai'Sa as well as Rakan in the exact same positions, and these champions, they're getting picked for a reason. It means scrims are going well, and I love the fact that already we're going to see one of our first Morganas actually of the tournament, a champion that is starting to rise in that success category.
With the Khan being banned, kind of makes sense as the first pick here for KaBuM. Kind of mulling over their next few picks, though. Caitlyn kind of jumps out, but they've already grabbed Jhin. There's their Alistar, though, for Cupcake.
And this is a thing that the Direwolves did within the OPL to such great success, is they picked a long-range AD carry plus the Alistar, not for the aggression, but for the ability to withstand ganks. He can go forward, pop that ultimate, and get out very easily, whereas if you're going something a little bit more squishy, it becomes difficult. However, I would love to see a range support taken into this and really try and bully the lane due to the lack of wave clear early and the fact that, you know, he is going to be a melee support.
Well, there's Caitlyn, kind of the expected pick to pair in with Morgana, so they'll take that and one more here on this side of the draft.
Yeah, exactly right. Caitlyn, another one of those champions just so safe to take early on in the draft. We saw Chitan actually use those traps to great effect throughout the game, sets up sieges, and KaBuM is one of those teams that is all about the Baron buff. And Caitlyn plus Baron buff kind of means that the game closes out relatively quickly, especially if you give her a black shield as well as some peel.
Yep, Trundle going to help out there. Been one of the most picked junglers so far in the tournament and recently given it success in a lot of these teams' finals. Tom Kent, probably not the pick here for the Direwolves, but we'll see what Triple wants to pick here for the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely not. Maybe flashing some champions they can play. But I think that what we're seeing already is, CC core, which means they can go for some more threats.
And I like this from Shernfire. Going to take Graves, who got some recent buffs, going to move himself into the jungle as we move into ban phase 2. On will be taken away.
Yeah, and Shern as a player is kind of an enigma. He says he has these things called animal instincts. He plays the game mainly off feel, not off, mathematical timings and things like that. And I think that what something like Graves does is going to allow him to stay healthy and invade. And I think that's a play style that the Direwolves need because they need pressure from somewhere. Bottom lane wasn't able to generate it. Chippys didn't have a great game 1. So maybe on this pick, Shern can put the jungle on farm and then try and start relieving some pressure from the rest of the map.
I mean, he'll play tank stuff if he has to, if the meta says yes, but certainly has an aggressive edge to him as Vlad will get banned here by KaBuM. LeBlanc, though, joining in. dyNquedo already showed off on that pick.
Absolutely, and it's a pick that people would not have practice against. Like the Karthus pick that came out yesterday, the LeBlanc is fairly new due to the changes, and if you haven't got practice against it, it's just better to get it off Summoner's Rift.
Talia, though, banned away from Triple, one of the more consistent good picks that he's shown off regionally there in the OPL. So we'll see what King has in store as Dials will get first pick in the phase.
And actually, the OPL as a region has incredibly high priority on Talia, just because of the fact that teams make mistakes during map rotations, and Talia as a pick can punish that so incredibly heavily. I like the fact that they're getting rid of it from Triple, because it is one of those champions that just shoves out a lane and allows him to play a very flexible game plan.
Well, a lot of long-range combo potential here as Zoe gets picked up for Triple. We already saw the LeBlanc as the counter pick there from dyNquedo, but of course that's taken away, so gonna have to fall down to something else.
And I'd like to see this come through, because Zoe is one of those champions that has one button. If you can win wall it off,
a good button though.
If you can go aggressive, then you can shut her down. All you have to worry about is a sleepy trouble bubble, but it's not going to be that.
Azir instead, I mean, potentially get picked off there, so have to be careful potentially in the mid lane, but a very strong team fighting. Going to see what they've been building here with likely a tank to round out the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'll talk about it a little bit more in-game when we see it, but at level 6, this lane can swing heavily for the Azir if you're not careful how you use that portal from Zoe. So we'll see whether dyNquedo is able to get it going. And Gnar, another pick right now that we're just, I mean, rounding out the team comp, kind of does everything. It's
yeah.
Like pseudo split pusher, pseudo team fighter. I think this is a solid draft coming out of KaBuM.
Not the maybe kind of big standard tank we would have expected, but I think given that Direwolves, as expected, are going to be counter picking the top lane, Chippys! He is going to whip it out. Irelia makes her appearance at MSI.
Absolutely. First one we're going to see, and Chippys was historically the huge Irelia player of the OPL. Of course, changes have come through completely different champions, but the ability to gap close onto Mini Gnar is what made it a counter pick in the first place, and I'm incredibly excited to see it at MSI.
I love the panache from Chippy saying, you know what, I may have had some mess ups there in the last game. Nerve, I think, likely got to him as a player that's expected to step up on such a big stage, and he says, don't worry about it, I got Irelia.
Absolutely, and I mean, hey, if you muck up your gap closes a couple of times because you have to shoot it at walls, a little bit of a skill shot, just get the targeted one going, just start mashing Q, you get to max it out as well. But this is a very aggressive, skirmish, heavy lineup coming out of the Direwolves. They need to get this rolling. If they fall behind, this could be a very ugly game.
We talk about, kind of late game carries being good insurance policies for teams. KaBuM have two big ones in the mid and bot lane, so going to be a fun one here. Dials already showed some of that cheekiness in their first game with a level 2 gank from Shern. Graves and Co can get very aggressive in here. We'll see exactly what happens, but oh man, we kind of wondered where we're going to see Irelia. We know Chippys has the history. I'm so happy he's bringing it out here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is kind of fitting that it is in this matchup. Brazil versus Oceania has always been one of those friendly rivalries back from when INTZ versus the Chiefs was a standard at the IWCs. I mean, two new teams coming out here. In fact, KaBuM actually beat out that historic INTZ roster, of course, now keyed to make it to this MSI, and I'm so incredibly excited to see if the trend of Oceania beating Brazil continues.
It's been a big history as well for KaBuM. People remember, of course, from years ago, some of their appearances at Worlds, but their actual regional success has not been really seen before. This is a team that effectively had to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. A year ago, this is a team that was facing relegation, actually fell down into that secondary lead, rebuilt around, their top laner, AD carry, as well as their new support, and since then have gone from strength to strength.
Well, here we are. A big MSI logo looms over Summoner's Rift as CB LOL versus OPL will clash once again on an international stage.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see immediately just a fan out. Nothing aggressive. You know, the first day that you get to play in these groups, you just want to be able to pick up those 2 wins because it means you have a shot. If you fall down the 0-3 or the 1-2, it makes coming back so much harder. And we'll see whether the Direwolves are able to get that first win or whether KaBuM continued that success.
Yep. Again, think about yesterday. Gambit sitting atop 3-0 with a great shot to claim the only slot available for one of those qualifying best of 5s. So every win certainly counts. We've seen a lot of upsets in this matchup before. So we'll have to see what happens. But again, Dial's keeping a lot more relaxed. Looks like Shern will start red buff here. Maybe move his way down towards the bottom and attack Chitan and Riyev, who've been a big strength for this team so far.
Not only that, starting at red means that if you do find the jungler early, you're able to continue that fight. Especially with fleet footwork, he's going to stay incredibly healthy. Immediately mid lane is just going to be around wave priority. And you can see this is a strange use of blue buff, trying to get some rage potentially.
Maybe. Zantins just does a couple of hits, perhaps a fake leaf potentially as well. Yep. So kind of interesting, but we'll see if it affects the lane too much. Top laners will make it around the same time. And Ranger now going to clear out that 1 buff and actually head topside.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see Irelia dash around. First time we're seeing you, Irelia. Of course, no more targeted stun. That's now, you know, a line skill shot that you have to set up. Actually missed the creep there, Chippys. We're going to see a very... Ooh, actually, this is cheeky pastry.
Very. I mean, this is kind of what happened on the other side for Direwolves there. Level 2 red buff gank. Chippy so early to get to this one. He's going to get pillared. Probably going to be forced to flash. Does flash away. Boomerang going to slow, but just a bit of extra poke coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cute coming out. And I mean, Shernfire is looking to actually return the favor potentially. However, very nice play out of dyNquedo. He knows that his jungle is shown, so we'll play safely.
Yeah, it looks like Shern is going to move up and spot him. Cupcake though, the combo does land in. A bit of a root, but Chitan trades very well there versus King. Still the Jhin getting aggressive. Has the 4 shot charged up. Jukes that next trap. We're going to run out soon and just fires the bullet into a creep.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, Shern looking for this mid lane.
Slow there on the red buff. Going to go into the line for a bit of bounce back damage. dyNquedo though dodges out with the EQ, but low on mana now for Azir.
And I think Shern has actually made a mistake here. He spent so much time around that mid lane. He should be using it to get a tempo advantage. Graves with that red smite, with some boots too, is going to be able to run into the jungle of the Trundle and be able to bully him out. Instead, he wasted all that time that Ranger invested top lane to try and get a gank off, and it just did not work.
Good moves from Chippy, but could still be in trouble. Ranger's going to revisit Chippy's now. No flash to speak of. Zantins into mini farm. Chippy's going to have to buy time for cooldowns. Ward does go down. Chippy's gets pilled up, but he walks into the next bit of brush. Channels that W. Needs to try and reduce some of the damage. Maybe he has a creep to get to with the stun. He's going to try and look for it still. Dances around and can't do it. Ranger grabs first blood.
Yeah, and that's just perfect play out of Ranger. Revisit the top lane. Continue to keep the carry down. We know that if Gnar gets himself that cleaver, gets himself the frozen mallet, we'll be able to abuse that melee matchup. And that was a one area over the map. We said Direwolves had a potential shot of winning.
Well, TP back in for Chippys, but gonna have to just collect this CS and kind of lick his wounds after that. You said Shern couldn't really get any other things taken. Did take the Raptors, got the ward, but a great regank again from Ranger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that Zantins is just continually pushing him back towards his side of the lane, you know, forcing him towards the top side, not towards the turret. That means that when Ranger does come in, whilst level 2, is able to use that pillar, which is just such a big slow if he can not get off it. And Chippys does ultimately fall down.
Yeah, not a whole lot left he can do. Next stun misses, tries to, I think, buy some time, but does go down. Ranger able to get the kill.
The one good thing I will point out was the fact that because the lane was pushing into Chippys, he got a teleport, he was able to reset the wave. Now we'll get a second shop off. So the deficit in gold right now will not be all that meaningful. You can see about 800 gold for the Kindle Gen. If Chippys goes back and grabs himself a Ruby Crystal, sure, he'll be down 150 gold, but that's not spent yet from Zantins.
Yep, you can see he goes back too. Longsword's just going to walk back to lane. That control ward also to try and help scout out future visits from Ranger, but bot side pushing in here for the Direwolves, but he runs into everything. The binding goes, the trap follows, and King so low.
I mean, I actually don't know how that hit. It looked like King was behind a creep, but you know, Morgana binds, we don't really understand how they work. They go forever. Very nicely done by Riyev down there in the bottom lane. Will force another back. And this is why Direwolves were under such pressure in game 1 pastry time. Remember that 8-minute turret that went down? I mean, they cannot afford to have that happen again.
No, not at all, especially with the kind of lane they have picked here for themselves to get aggressive. Ignite, of course, on Cupcake side versus the exhaust for Riyev. So different philosophies here as the pressure will remount back towards. Binding misses on Cupcake, but tower damage is kind of what they want. Instead, they'll take the recall.
Yeah, what they were trying to do is make sure that Cupcake couldn't pull the wave, hold it off turret, and get a freeze going for his AD carry. Now they get to carry that CES advantage into their reset. And because Cupcake's now holding the wave, potentially it can stack up.
Is he in the picture? Oh, what a beautiful use of the hitbox there.
I mean, that's very nice. Skirting around the edge of the wall, throwing it from Fog of War. And one more time, we're going to see some more aggression out of Ranger right now. KaBuM's jungler is just picking on Chippy.
Chippy's new best friend is back in the top side. Gnar is there, going to try and channel it out. They're going to dive the tower, but a good interrupt on the pillar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zantins took turret aggro too early there. They're going to go for again, though.
Yep, Chippys, though, still dancing around. Needs to buy some time. Ranger actually can't tank anymore, so dive will be called off. Good evasion there from Chippys.
But it's about what Shern is getting done across the map. You can see right now has that level advantage. Up 16 CS, which is 4 camps. So is finally starting to put the farm on and get an advantage for his team.
And this, I think, is where the real money is going to lie. Everyone will descend onto this Infernal Drake triple. I think found a heal on the ground, picks it up and burns it for a bit of extra damage and healing. And this will be a trade for Infernal Drake. No Ranger is sitting in that top side still. So the first Drake of this game will go to the direwolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge win. Cupcake got mad at something, pulled the ground then. Don't really know what was going on there. But picking up a Fire Dragon, especially for just getting over a red buff, which, you know, maybe Shern can pick up on the bottom side of the map, is just a massive win for the direwolves.
Yeah, just kind of splitting the map at this point with mid looking decent, but despite the CS deficit, is at least building pressure for the direwolves here, while the top side has certainly gone all wrong, at least in these early stages.
Certainly has, and it's gone to the point where Chippys feels like he has to get himself, you know, some wave clear, because the wave keeps crashing. With the crash of the wave, he feels like he's in threat of being dove over and over again. As we go in bottom lane.
Cupcake bot side combo lands in with that root coming out from the flourish, but a defensive binding gonna prevent any follow-up damage there from King. Still trading relatively effectively here in the bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to use that movement speed, trying to flirt in and out. You can see it's being matched by Chitam with the boots too. But Swifties are just so quick. And Root actually there, gonna land.
Good
Lucky
feat.
that there wasn't a bind coming out.
Yeah, good feat that time from King. Actually dodged the binding that came out to Cupcake. I think took initiative and stepped on the trap. Nice ward's gonna spot Shern. Looking down here in the bot lane, second one's going to find him as well, and he knows what's up, so he's going to clear these out instead.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see because they backed away, kind of gave away the fact that there were wards there. Does get hit by the binding, but they will zone them away from the couple of creeps. And I want to say this is what historically has separated the CB Long, as well as the TCL, from the other regions that are coming through the play-ins, because they have generally had much better vision control, had much better structure with how they approach things like Baron, things like Dragon, and they're the intangibles. When you watch a game, you don't really get to see, like, why is this devolved? Why has it become a little bit sloppy? And it's because information in League of Legends allows you to make plays. And the ability to have information there meant that, you know, if your jungler's on the top side, maybe you can dive a turret. And it's just something that historically these regions have done very well.
Well, we'll see if they can keep that up. Certainly, again, had a good first outing here for KaBuM, but direwolves holding on nicely. Gold is pretty even, still a 400 gold lead or so, as the line stun is going to miss for Chippys. Looking for that reset, has the Vanguard's edge to use, but Zantins going to get some free trading in here.
Yeah, that's really sloppy out of Chippys. He's going to get very chunked out due to that. Need to be able to commit all in if you want to go for it with Irelia. Mucks it up, and that bubble misses as well.
Yeah, just short there from triple. dyNquedo knowing the range quite well. Shern's actually mid lane, looking for pressure as Ranger was bot, now recalled, so Chippys is safe from the big wave that was crashing.
Yeah, you see Zantin actually leaves top lane, tries to float some pressure down, gets a nice deep ward because he knows right now he is dominating this lane and he does not want jungle impact. He wants it to stay in the 1v1, and Chippys is just praying someone can bail him out.
Yep, 15 CS, only a refillable potion and a ruby crystal for Chippys.
Oh, this is dangerous out of Shern. He is shopping in a dangerous area.
Too far forward, good flash, but he's going to get scooped back by the Gnar. Tries to burn the ult to make it a little more distance, but Chippys gonna have to try and save him. Vanguard's that shower, they flash out. A triple, also gonna look to roam up. Chippys looking for the resets onto Zantins, but doesn't quite have enough as Irelia is gonna get low still. Goes back in, Chippys finds a reset for dyNquedo. He's roamed up as well. Chippys, he wants it. He's gonna take down Zantins, gets one, but it's probably gonna pay for it. Goes drowsy. Cupcake's here as well. Look for the line, so Chippys misses it for Ranger. Gonna get low, triple. Can't get him, but Cupcake goes back in. Ignite is down. There's the double kill. Maybe gonna make it 3. dyNquedo barely flashes out under the turret.
And this is exactly what we talk about when we talk about the OPL. Scrappy team fights, getting multiple people around the map. Cupcake's roam up, saves that gank, and somehow the direwolves turn it around to a 2-1.
Moby Boots gets him there barely in time, as Chippys will finally get the salvation he was praying for after that early game.
Yeah, absolutely. But we saw the best and the worst of the direwolves there. Shern goes for a good invade. Just little bit of a brain fade, just backs in the vision, not able to get out of there. And I mean, at the same time, then the collapse from the rest of his team to bail him out, I mean, that was just so successful. I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about. If you're going to go for this invade, it takes you not all that much time to walk back out of the jungle, slide over the wall. Instead, he gives over a free kill. But the fact that already they're seeing the Alistar with those Moby boots run through mid lane and make it to this play, that is huge from Cupcake.
Yep, Triple gets caught, roams back up, and this is somehow a turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ability to go forward. Meanwhile, bottom lane, however, bind does land.
Yeah, feet caught for the binding. Shernfire gonna have to try and turn it back around. King is there, but not quite in range as Ranger will descend here. Flash ult, Riyev looking to make it good. Shernfire is gonna get caught up, and he gets over the top of the wall, just barely. Cupcake, nice double pole. Shern, he's gonna have to book it. Cupcake, but the ulti ticking runs away.
And I said this, very nice Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land.
Triple looks for it, gets a massive chunk. King fighting the stun. Shern back at the top of the end of the line. Jimbo's gonna try and stun, but another binding gives Chitan the kill.
Yeah, absolutely. Chitan comes up clutch. Heal is there, goes in, saves his teammate, and able to turn that play as well. Meanwhile, King's still looking for some damage here.
Yep, trading back pretty decent here between the two carries, both with a BF sword. King with a bit extra on top of that.
All right, so let's take a breath. I mean, there's a lot of action right now. Dragon is going to come back up. It's going to be another Infernal, so I think that whilst we will get a brief respite, maybe some shops coming out now to be ready for that pickup. I mean, you can see that the ability for Cupcake to play negatively, another Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land. Oh, just does so much damage.
Triple commits, he's pretty low. He's like, I think this will trade well as Cupcake roaming again, has a flash. dyNquedo knows sums, it gets out with the EQ.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was going to say is the fact that Cupcake did not go aggressive with a headbutt pole. He stood on his jungler, got the two-man pole, got the stun afterwards, actually saves Shern here. I mean, you can see this is a nice bind, but he holds all of his spells. And, I mean, this looks completely horrible. They're getting cut off. King's not yet rotating. Very nice flash forward out of Riyev. That's the aggressive play we like to see. Gets over the wall, holds his spells. Very big two-man pole. Very good stun here. And they should be out. But then all of a sudden, Shern, Animal Instincts, kick back in, is like, you know what? We can get this going. We can go back over the wall. Misses his spells. And Chitan here saving Riyev with a little bit of a move speed boost, able to pick up the kill and turn that fight in his team's favor.
Nicely played there from KaBuM, but the Drake will be started by Direwolves. 4 men onto this Infernal.
And I mean, right now, Azir is back in base, so it should be there. However, Teleport is up and available. See whether they actually choose to fight this one. It is so low. Cancel, actually.
I think Chippys just found the stun, and now they're going to go in for the team-fight, perhaps. They're going to go over. Drake goes to King as Jhin picks it up, and now Ranger going to get comboed down. Cupcake finds the stun on the auto attack, but no follow-up is there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see ultimates were already burnt. King did not have his available. Chippy's the real MVP. Stopping that teleport means that that is now 2 Fire Dragons to the Direwolves. And with Jhin, with Zoe, that's massive.
Yeah, again, trying to make up for the Azir Caitlyn, perhaps certainly a big push of power as the game continues on. Shern is going to hang out and do some love taps there.
He just wanted to push the lane. That's all it's about. I mean, you have to get a good reset there. Once again, King with the ultimate, shipping out Chitan. That's the superstar that we've been talking about, falling down in CS. And actually, this turret now at 13 minutes is in danger of falling.
And tying a pretty big bank of gold unspent, which means that any sort of fight's real tough as Ranger and dyNquedo are going to roam down.
Yeah, you got to be careful. If
Cupcake with a snipe, looks for Riyev. Black Shield's late and King gets a kill. Looking for 2 as he channels that ulti. Snipe is good. Looks for another bullet. Needs the last one, but gets interrupted by Ranger. Now Cupcake, caught behind enemy lines, is tanking up the turret and gives his life over to Chitan, and King, he's going to walk in for a second kill. It's a disaster for Tyler's, but King, he will get the trade.
He actually made that a 2 for 2. King flashing forward. I thought it was a mistake, but does manage to equalize. And you see, meanwhile, Chippy's top lane is going to take turret.
I mean, it wasn't pretty, but at least they get something out of the deal. Dial was playing with pretty unbridled aggression here in this game.
Ooh, already used the hot pastry.
2 levels up, but it's so low, it doesn't matter. Shernfire blows up Zantins.
And that is why you do not use gap closers trying to get to an area quicker. Zantins should have been able to escape, had the flash available, had the hop, but runs into Shernfire, face checks him, and that will give first turret over.
Yep, Chippy's going to get it, uses the flawless duet for a Sheen proc, takes 1 turret, Triple with the pressure, takes 2. As the last order is good with the more sparkles. Triple gets a bubble. No need to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is now a huge advantage for the Direwolves. Not only do they have the scaling Drakes, they have themselves right now a 3,000 gold advantage, and Shern has picked himself up a 40 CS lead on Graves. He's just going to absolutely destroy the front line of KaBuM.
Out he goes, he's alone now, 1 for 2. Binding gonna miss, good early ult from Shern. to ensure his safety. And now the third turret's going to fall down. Direwolves fell the outer ring in 15.5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. What a turnaround from the Direwolves. This is a team that said, you know, they're not here to necessarily win the tournament. They're here to have a better showing and put Oceania back on the map. And I think with this early game, it is certainly a statement.
Picked an early game comp, or at least early to mid game, have to play it aggressive and have done so with aplomb as they look to snowball this lead. We'll watch this one again, though.
Yeah, this was so aggressive from Cupcake because there's 2 members in Fog of War and they've actually already been pinged out. But they still say, no, we can go for this. This pillar out of Ranger actually is the MVP because otherwise they just would have been able to walk away from it. But King continues up the aggression. This flash forward here with the movement speed means that he's able to aggress onto Chitan, who turns around for a kill that was guaranteed, and it cost him his life.
Yep, he wanted the goal. He trades some instead. As KaBuM looking to rotate around the map and stop some of this bleeding. Next Drake will be a mountain, but it's not up for a couple minutes now.
And they're in such a trough. Like when you're talking about champions like Azir, like Chitan's Caitlyn right now, you're looking at 2-3 items to be relevant. When you have a look at Jhin, he's raring to go. Zoe, especially with the utility from that sleepy trouble bubble, is in a very good spot as well. And Irelia has always been a mid-game carry. At this stage of the game, will be able to win the split push advantage and will be able to push in to Zantins.
And I think some love for Triple here to kind of complete that picture. Very consistent player, very team-oriented player. Really just as kind of casually pressure his lane a little down in CS, has left, has roamed, have been there for his team, which is the role that he's always known for. And so far, so good on the Zoe.
Absolutely, and this is a player that was on, you know, the 5th place team, Avant Gaming, back in the OPL. Everyone kind of said that he was the 3rd, 4th best mid laner in the region. They actually gave up the MVP in Fantix to pick up Triple. And this was the split that they went in undefeated. Chippys gets caught out a little bit.
Yep, Ranger still chasing, able to slow him down there with a bite. Chippys does have his flash, but doesn't want to have to use it. Will not be forced to as Ranger burns the ulti, but can't quite chase.
And that's one of those situations that if you continue to chase, you're holding off a Rift Herald. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land.
Yep, does fall asleep the back shield. Oh my goodness, Triple! Proto Belt that he picked up off the ground takes down the Morgana.
And that's what I was saying. If you go onto that play, teleport coming in, they're committing to it.
Yep, Chippys is bought. They're actually going to really force hard here in mid lane. And do get the turret with the Rift Herald that Shern took from all the pressure they'd accrued. Drake up now in a minute 5 as Direwolves on a rampage through the jungle.
However, they are walking to a bit of trap. No, they're not.
Found another one again. Vanguard's edge misses Ranger with a nice flash, but he's still gonna go down to Shernfire. As a backup TP here from Triple. Oh, looks for Titan with the bubble and can't find it, but instead King gonna miss a point blank deadly flourish, but Zantins in mini form is still getting chased down. Chippys, he wants it. There's the Jhin. Gonna try and get the last few bullets. It's just poke for now though, as Zantins dodges that last bullet, but another bubble hits Chitan. So many things for KaBuM to dodge.
What a difference in gameplay coming out of the Direwolves. The decisiveness to go underneath turrets, to drop Rift Heralds. And I mean, this is honestly just one sleepy trouble bubble, and he doesn't get the black shield up in time into a crit from Jhin. As you said, full range Paddle Star and that Proto Belt.
They throw it all, and that's enough to kill the Morgana. As Chippys even uses that TP very offensively to guarantee themselves yet another turret. Now he's down in the bot side, split pushing away.
And we saw this build yesterday when you get ahead. The ability to pick up Sork Boots plus the Oblivion Orb means that right now, even though Merc Treads are picked up for dyNquedo, everyone else is going to be taking near true damage from this Zoe. And we've already seen how disgusting that damage is. It's only going to get worse.
Yep, 2 items as well from King and his Jhin. So looking good there is a pretty quick mountain Drake being attempted here by KaBuM. It's so dangerous. They already know they're going to try and get the Drake and get up perhaps, but Direwolves want blood instead. They'll force them off the Drake. They'll blow up dyNquedo just about. They'll take down the Drake as well, and they'll get a kill to top it all off.
Yeah, exactly right. And they are so lucky this was not 30 seconds later, because that would have been barren for the Direwolves. Get the pick on the mid laner, on the jungler, and they are rolling full steam ahead.
Yep, here they go. Direwolves looking to push things down. Looks like Triple's going to get it started in the top lane, as Dials really just want more turret. Like you said, that Baron would have been incredible, but another blue buff steal will happen as Triple claims the enemy blue for himself.
Yeah, absolutely, and this has just been the story of the game. Have a look at the jungler's CS. He's nearly 100 down. This is a flame horizon from the jungle pastry. I mean, this was dangerous because they're so split. They're trying to use the range advantage over the wall, but that means if ever the hard engage comes, and it was actually on 2 fronts, that you're going to be in big trouble. And I mean, right now, I feel like KaBuM just need to take their gas off the pedal.
Oh, Triple is just finding these snipes with a bubble. You can see the Ludens and the 2 early pen items working overtime here at this 20-minute mark.
And you look at the team comp, you're like, okay, we've got ourselves an Azir, a Caitlyn. If we farm up, they can't really push into our base. We've got trap lines, we've got the Azir ultimate. Their range, whilst for poke is good, their actual turret siege isn't great, and they have no way to turret dive at this stage of the game. I really think take the foot off the pedal, just ensure that you're farming up. This is the only objective on the map you realistically cannot give up if you're the KaBuM lineup. Everything else, you should just be giving to the direwolf.
Oh my god, triple! Great flash, by the way, from Titan, but Chippy's gonna find him instead. There's just nothing he can do. King claims the kill!
You can run, but you cannot hide from this lineup. I mean, that was 2 gap closes over a wall, and still somehow it was picked up. And the direwolves now will look at Baron, Shitan, the star 80 carry not available on the map, and I don't even think they can test.
Yeah, this Baron's getting blazed down here by the direwolves. Just dead here. Ranger won't be in the area to do anything. Sheddatir, as the Drake goes, Baron, sorry, goes over to Shernfire. And direwolves now, they've got that siege power they need.
He wanted that so badly, Chippy. You could see leaving behind a dagger, looking to set it up. This turret might fall down. First turret of the game going to be picked up. But you can see already pressure in the mid lane, pressure in the top lane. And the direwolves not looking to relent anytime soon.
Zantins will keep it a little further away from a 10,000 gold lead for the Dials, who are rocking about 8,500 right now. Triple gonna try and even that up as he does good damage to a turret.
And this is the stage of the game. You just, oh, actually,
1v1? Yeah, you better pull off, buddy. Ranger is going to just sit down as King. Yep, knows that the last bullet's just going to hit a Trundle instead. But, I mean, you can just see how these carries are so vulnerable on the side of KaBuM.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, this is the stage of the game for the direwolves. You just recall as a unit, set up lanes, or you can just try and solo kill the mid laner, I guess, is the other option that you have available when you're this far ahead. But their 1-3-1 is absolutely huge. And we can see right now that that is what they're going for. The siege onto the turrets. They don't want to take any risk. Get all 3 waves in the right area, and then look to just encroach on KaBuM's territory.
Almost got the turret. Shernfire with a pretty cute smoke screen, but needed one more custom Indian auto to finish that off. Sun turret will not last long as Shern deals with that one. There is a decent amount of unspent gold. Good note there from you, Spawn, on the direwolf side, but they're really just playing to maximize their Baron pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. They feel like they don't need to spend
Triple! You can't keep doing this to people! Goodbye, Chitan!
That is so gross. Why? He just flashes himself over the trap line. I thought that he could have just used the portal jump. Apparently wasn't needed, Pastry, and this is one of those games that really devolves so quickly that you can't spot where it went wrong.
Oh, Triple again almost finds a snipey bubble onto a carry. And they're about to get some inhibitor turrets broken. Chippy's working on one in the bot side. Triple's kill also net them the turret there on top, and this turret goes down.
That was so cute. You can see Shern tried to clear out the minions to allow the paddle star to push through there. And now Zantins, he's just in trouble.
Wrap around from Cupcake, but just there to support Chippy's. The rest of the walls will come roaring down here to the bot side. Mid inhib is dead, by the way. Shern gonna have to get away. Once again, burns the ulti for a bit of extra gap close. DYNQuedo eats the bubble. Triple gonna line it all up, but can't find anything but a Caitlyn who's back for revenge. Good damage there, but probably not enough as Triple, I think, got healed. Yeah, King was like, just to be sure,
yeah,
I'll use my heal.
Absolutely. I mean, at this stage of the game, you do not want to give away a shutdown to the one member that can probably still carry it in the Caitlyn. This game needs to go so much longer if you are a KaBuM fan right now for you to be able to get your way back into it. However, if there ever was a team comp that you could stall with, it is going to be Azir Caitlyn.
Yep, certainly so. 12,000 gold ahead is the lead for the Dials. Baron will expire in 40 seconds. But they've done the damage here at this point as we'll watch this wonderful play from Triple again.
And this is what I was talking about. Actually, he used the portal jump. So then his play is the correct one. Flashes over the trap line. Quick snap back with the paddle star. Of course, a lot of that damage also transferred to the passive was the other big hit. Shern, what are you doing?
Yeah, getting caught as Baron the answer is going to try and take Riyev down with him, but Chitan picks up gold. That is not the right place for that to go.
It certainly is not. Now the map is reset. However, they still want this fight. Teleport coming in.
Riyev channeling, but there's not really any good spots for him to go. They need to get that Caitlyn out, because I think Riyev is forfeit at this point. Bind trying to protect Caitlyn, pulling hands out of the portal, with everybody blown up in the brush. They barely missed the triple kill.
Absolutely. What a great flank coming out of Chippys. If you were KaBuM there, you think, we've bought ourselves the respite. We got ourselves the pick. Let's farm up. But no, immediate teleport out of Chippys. And now with 2 members down, especially with it being the bottom lane, they can look to now continue to push in.
And Triple, again, for someone who had a relatively quiet first 10 minutes, really letting his presence be known. Now, a death cap is almost completed as the carries will continue. And at this point, even the front line in threat of being one-shot by the Zoe. Not to mention how strong everyone else is. Again, Triple gonna line it up. They get the root. They're gonna channel the Jhin off, pour the shots in. Good pillar again, but this turret will die.
Yeah, exactly right. That threat is enough to just zone, and they continue the fight.
In they go. Chippy's gonna try and make something happen. Vanguard's edge in the back. Actually disabling Azir's pretty sweet, but Cupcake goes back in a cover for the inhib. Zantins still low. Cupcake, he'll sacrifice himself for that inhibitor in top.
Exactly right. They need to disengage. That was a 4v5. It was a bit overzealous, but still a 4,500 gold Baron power play. They picked themselves up 2 inhibitors. They're going to take themselves another Mountain Dragon. Everything right now put on top of 13,000 gold lead. This is just looking sweet for the Oceanic lineup.
Yeah, should be able to take this. Oh, Ranger going to try and contest. Shernfire gets it. Is it going to cost him binding? Not going to get there. And Ranger actually taking a little too much damage. Shern's got the ulti. Might just get a kill at this point. Look to try and channel it down. He's going to fight them. He gets a crit with the PD and just kills the Gnar in a 1v3.
That was a 1v3, and this is the reason we thought we would see more things like the Graves, like the Nidalee, because you saw the ultimate out of Ranger did diddly squat against the Graves right there. Normally you see so much health coming back, so much resistances. Well, that's on a tank. When you do it against a damage threat who's got himself a Ghost Blade at PD as well as the Berserker's Greaves, not much resistances to Zeal.
Credit to Shern. I think he's trying to learn from those earlier mishaps perhaps in the early game, but he was like, wait a second, I'm a 3 out of Graves in the game. We're on more than 10,000 gold ahead, so just unleashes after taking the Drake. Dials with 4 Drake, double Mountain, double Infernal, as they try and crack the last few buildings.
And the trend continues. Slow it down, collect your side waves, make sure you're as a unit before you push in here. Looking to fish for some poke. They really are playing this well. A couple of over-aggressive stages, did net a couple of kills over for KaBuM, but really this is a 27-minute game that the Direwolves are now looking to close out.
Yep, inhibit mid, still not up for a little while longer. Top will take a long time at this point with Baron up in a minute. There's even some insurance for the Direwolves if KaBuM can hold on against this siege. Cupcake, yeah, he goes straight in. He's like, yep, I'm in with a Hex Splash, trying to go over the wall. Triple, looking for the poke with the Paddle Stars as Chippy's running flank on the top side.
And this is a thing, they have to go soon, because if they do not go, 2 waves of Super Creeps going to be pushing in onto those Nexus turrets. They will fall down, and it looks like they just do not have a way to get in. Zantins Mega Gnar has popped, and still no window for KaBuM.
Once again, Oceania trying to ruin Brazil's day here in an international. KaBuM look for the last-ditch effort. Shern burns the ulti once more to get away.
Exactly right. They're just waiting for those creep waves, waiting for them to push in. Huge combo.
Oh, great Gnar from Zantins. They get to it in the wall. Cupcake trying to run interference. Jhin gets it back, but King just takes him down. Chippys with a Vanguard that rips through Zantins. Gnar and Ranger too low. Can't do enough for the Caitlyn. Just doesn't have the damage. King, he did fall, but it's 2v4 with the super creeps piling in.
Absolutely. And at this stage of the games, there are 4 threats from the Direwolves, and they're looking to just clean up the base. Already onto those Nexus turrets.
Yep, mid goes back. They might as well retake it, as they are going to buy some time, waiting for the supers to go through. Chippys is going to give it a couple of shots here, but not really needed, as they just need to wait.
Yeah, absolutely. They look for the final fight here.
Again, Black Shield on the Caitlyn. Cupcake trying to get in, but Tatum with a great flash. Doesn't actually get out of the way, but still, the damage is there. The Nexus is exposed, and Direwolves are going to take it all the way, evening up their score, and they take down KaBuM.
And that man on your screen, the Oceanic MVP, had a completely turnaround game. The Camille, it looked sloppy, it looked nervous, but on the Irelia, on his historic best pick, Chippys rose to the occasion and carried out this game.
Credit to the Wolves, I think across the board there. Change up their draft basically completely, change up their style, fix some of their mistakes, and still make some. But when they find a lead, they knew exactly what their comp was drafted to do, and that was run it all the way home to the Nexus.
And that's what impressed me. We said the CB LoL, KaBuM, one of those teams that actually set up the map correctly. Well, now potentially, it's only one game, but potentially you can add Oceania's Direwolves to that, because they look like they had a good grasp on the 1-4. Shern went over-aggressive a couple of times and got caught out and punished, as you should be, but the rest of the game was relatively clean.
I mean, that was the Shern I remember back when I was in the OPL, because he was doing things that I had heard when he was a player coming up in the scene, ripping through solo queue, destroying people on aggressive junglers, and that was Shernfire through and through as far as I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one mistake I would be very critical on was the level 2, the ability to just sit in the mid lane, side lane brush and try and get something happening there. I think apart from that, he played the very good tempo game that Graves can bring to Summoner's Rift incredibly well, and I feel like that pressure freed up his lanes a lot. I mean, we saw first 3 turrets of the game fall down for the Direwolves. After game 1, I mean, they lost their bottom lane turret at 8 minutes.
Yeah, everything was going extremely wrong in the last one. So again, good to see the Dials kind of go through a reset. KaBuM for their side. Kind of a couple things to think here and there. I mean, it's tough in a best of one, especially when a team goes that aggressive. But have to think, okay, next time we're going to be a bit more careful. Maybe Caitlyn Azir was a stretch too far. Hard to say. It's a good comp, but could have been a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the scaling was there, but they did not play towards that. They thought that the early game was in their favor, and unfortunately, when they tried to adapt, it was too late.
Well, to hear more about that win for the OPL, let's then over to Shox and the analysts.
Awoo! The Wolfpack has arrived at MSI. Now, I like this for a lot of reasons. Number one, the Wolfpack does the OPL proud by winning their first game. Secondly, they play spoiler to Brazil once again. That's something that Oceania is really good at. And thirdly, what are the chances that Pastry Time and Spawn are reunited and boom, the Dire Wolves win?
It's a conspiracy.
It's all part of the magical oceanic plan.
They're just buffing them up. That's what's happening. That's why they're casting the game in the back half.
And I mean, credit where credit is due. They didn't just win, they crushed KaBuM.
Yeah, it felt like that when this team got a lead, they were just unforgiving, relentless. They used their composition beautifully. But I feel like it all's got to come down to that man in the bottom lane, Cupcake.
Cupcake was phenomenal.
He was sweet, right?
He was so sweet. Yeah, I like that.
Let's take a look at some big plays. The first one, the Dire Wolves 2-for-1 turnaround brought to you by Acer Predator.
And you know what? Jake mentioned this, of course. Spawn talked about that this started off as a mistake, and it should have been KaBuM taking out a massive lead. But the problem is, suddenly it turns into a numbers game when the boots of mobilities, Alistar starts hoofing it up to the top lane.
Yeah, it was so impressive to see him arriving out of nowhere. Raz and I were just sitting there being like, oh, this is a one fight for KaBuM, should be easy. And they're like, wait, why is there a delicious treat up in the top side? Direwolf's doing a great job reacting, and Cupcake, he made so many of these plays throughout the game, and I feel like he was just the big facilitator that enabled a lot of the early game.
Well, fun fact, Cupcake has a 90% almost win rate in the OPL on Alistar, so I feel like KaBuM maybe should have banned it out.
100, you may, yeah, actually, 100%, just because. You know what? Cupcake goes towards these defensive supports so often. It was not surprising to see him on the Braum in game one. But after that loss, him going straight towards the Alistar, change in face. That he just wanted to be able to get the ball rolling. Because if they were playing that defensively in game one, and he felt so frustrated for the game not to get going, then suddenly he's on that Alistar. He's going mid lane, and even though we didn't get that mid lane action from him, he was fishing for it.
Well, I think we're going to take a look at some more highlight plays because there was this lingering fear that the Direwolves would throw their lead, but it was quite the opposite. They kept making plays, and I also like the fact that Chippys, after his rough game on Camille, coming into MSI, he got to play his Irelia and crush it.
I feel like that every single member of the Direwolves really did step up. Considering that expectations were so high for KaBuM, they had a pretty solid start to the day, and then once again they get upset by the Direwolves, just utilizing their composition so beautifully with the Zoe Jhin. You land a single bit of CC and then you instantly shut down that target. Sets up beautifully for Chippys to really make use of the Irelia, and the whole team just played exactly to their style.
Yeah, 100%. I think the best thing about this was the fact that when KaBuM was levying top lane ganks after top lane ganks, and sure, it worked out. They were able to get that one kill. Chippys played it really strong, really defensively to combat the next dive that was coming through. Yep. And it was in double Infernal game. So suddenly, KaBuM has to actually respect the second Infernal coming through, but it was far too late because so much pressure was already being levied bot side by Direwolves.
Beautifully played because the bottom lane could get their advantage, and they were on red side. They could just take all those Drakes, and it was Infernal, working out fantastically for their composition. But now we need to step away from this game specifically and look at the trends in the group, because for both teams, it is a story we've heard before. And I want to start by buttoning it up for KaBuM. Again, they fall to a team they shouldn't fall to, and again, they look to be playing second fiddle to Supermassive, which raises the stakes incredibly for that Game 6 when they take on the TCL squad.
Yes, they are a huge risk of going 1 and 2 in the group, but also Supermassive are going to be very happy because you think about it, and now the gap has been extended between them and the rest of the roster, and KaBuM, I still feel like there's the ability to turn it around. It's just going to very much pivot on, can they look to shut down the playmaking Snowflower in the bottom lane? Because it seems like this roster struggles against playmaking supports.
Yeah, one of these teams are going to have to chip them down because it feels like every single time these two multiple teams go up in the same group, it's always the TCL team. It's always Supermassive that's just laughing at the side because dominating while the teams are just taking games off each other.
And that's why I would like to bring us back to reality for the Direwolves. Yes, they won a game. Yes, they play spoiler once again, but I want to see them, for Oceania, be more than a spoiler. And I want to see them do what they set out here to do and do more than just pick up that one game here and there. And they're up on stage still because they'll be playing Pentagram right after this. So do we see them continuing this confidence and relaying it into another win?
Well, if they continue play like this and Cupcake gets his hands on another playmaker, yes, I can see it happening. And to be honest, Pentagram are doing kind of what they've always done at international competitions, which is stick to their regional style of slow-paced, and that just doesn't seem to cut it in MSI plans.
Oh, well, things are heating up. We're going to get some more Direwolves as they take on Pentagram in Game 5. That matchup is coming up after the break. Ow!
Tries to burn the ult to make it a little more distance, but Chippys gonna have to try and save him. Vegas and Java, they flash out. A triple, gonna get low, triple, can't get him. A Cupcake goes back in. Ignite is down. It's a double kill. Maybe gonna make it 3 dyNquedo. Barely flashes out under the turret.
Ooh, already used the hot pastry.
2 levels up, but it's so low. It doesn't matter. Shernfire blows up Zantins.
And you should just be giving to the Direwolf.
Oh my god, triple! Great flash, by the way, from Titan, but Chippy's gonna find him instead. There's just nothing he can do. King claims the kill. Triple! You can't keep doing this to people. Goodbye, Titan! Bind trying to protect. Caitlyn pulling hands out of the bottom, but everybody blown up in the brush. They barely missed the triple kill. Oh, great Nano from Zantins. They get to it in the wall. Cupcake trying to run interference. dyNquedo gets him back, but King just takes him down. Chippys with a Vanguard that rips through. The damage is there. The Nexus is exposed, and Direwolves are gonna take it all the way, evening up their score, and they take down KaBuM.